Hello everyone, Zoe here, and today I've been submitted a lovely piece of writing by a student who's got their exam tomorrow. So, without further ado, I wanted to have a look at it and see if I could grade it. Okay, so it is AQA, writing to describe. This is a 40-mark question. So you're looking at 6 to 8 paragraphs. Now, I give that quantity of writing as a rough guide because much depends on the quality. I've had students write less and do very well. So minimum 5 paragraphs, I would say, a decent size, at least a page of writing. Much depends on the handwriting size. So don't get too bogged down on length of writing, but you need to write a decent amount for this. And remember, AQA students who are doing their resits tomorrow, if it's, I think it is tomorrow, it's certainly November resits. Remember your question order. I suggest read the whole paper in terms of all the questions, read the source text, and then decide. I mean, if it was me, I would do question 5 first, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be my personal order, or maybe 5, 1, 2, 4, and then 3, because 3 is the hard structure question worth 8 marks, whereas 4 is worth 20 marks. Okay, question 4 is a quarter of that paper, and question 5, this one, is half of that paper. So these are important questions to get right. So I just wanted to hold it on this so you could get a really good look of the image. It looks quite desolate. Maybe it looks you've got mountains in the background. There's something quite grand and beautiful, but I feel like I'm also seeing, is this a structure here? Are they building something? Um, it's an interesting landscape, actually. Um, was this a stage once? There's items in disarray. I mean, there's lots of things we could write about this, of what it once was, fallen grandeur, but you've got this beautiful landscape around here and lots of light. So that's quite an interesting picture. Take a good look at it. You've got horizon, you've got stuff in sort of near view that you can see. It's always write a description suggested by the picture. So look at it and think of suggestions. I always say as well, if you're stuck for ideas, the 5 senses, that's 5 paragraphs, plus a mini story of maybe where, the speaker, the person viewing the image, maybe how they're moving around. Do they start here and then move into the background? Do they take a little trajectory? Do they look at the foot of the mountain? Do they look over this into the horizon? Think about things like that. That's another way of planning things to write. Okay, so I've got, oh, what have I done with it? No, it is, that's the image, and this is the picture. So I'm going to make this bigger, a little bit bigger, so you can see it. And I'm going to put the actual text at the bottom. So I've got, technically one word counts as a paragraph because this is the way you've chosen to separate it out, and that's totally fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a decent amount of writing there. I wouldn't say quantity is an issue here. I've got the mark schemes as well, which I'll compare back to it, but let's have a read through, and I'm going to sort of say what I think of it as I go through it. Silence, ... Good start. Teary eyes with a heavy heart. You need a there between with and heavy. Teary eyes with a heavy heart. Move towards a new land. Good. A place where I've been called a refugee, which is far away from my home, which is my heartbeat forever. You need between heartbeat and forever a dash, which is my heartbeat dash forever. Interesting, like this. Others can feel the same, comma, after same, but cannot match the pain. I am an alien. I like your mixture of sentence types here. Nice. Why has this happened? Good question. Greed for money and power changed my heaven. Right. Greed for money and power. Get rid of that comma. There's a comma splice. Greed for money and power changed my heaven into fire. Love the juxtaposition there, the opposites, but you don't need the comma here because the greed for money and power idea is linked to this one directly. That's called a comma splice. That's an error. Get rid of that comma between power and changed. Left my motherland to others' land, to another's land. Oh, Good. You're good. You've made an effort here with punctuation. I can see this because you can use a semicolon instead of and or but. So well done for using that. Let's have a look if it's correct. Left my motherland for another's land where they accepted me as their own. Left my motherland for another's land and where they accept. Yes, that works. Well done. It can work there. Left my motherland for another's land where they accepted me as their own. Yep, I support that staying there. That semicolon. I will keep praying one day. I will return back to. I will keep praying one day that I will return back to my motherland. You need a that between day and I. Good. As I walked towards my lonely, empty soul, a feeling of longing crashed into my miserable heart. You need into, I think. The feeling went into it. You can say it crashed into makes more sense, I think. It's just my opinion. As I walked into my lonely, empty soul, a feeling of longing crashed into my miserable heart. And I might put a dash between soul and A as well. With every step, a nostalgic, change that to a C. With every step, a nostalgic, patriotic feeling shattered my mind. Good, nice. So we've got crashed and shattered. So we've got violent verbs there. Well done. You clearly studied this kind of writing, and I can see that the work that's gone into here. This is very encouraging. So you should feel happy with yourself. Rama, this is good. This is good work. Okay, I really like your ideas as well. With every step, a nostalgic, patriotic feeling shattered my mind. All my desire was a glance over my beloved country. All my desire was a glance. This doesn't make sense. All my desire was a glance over my beloved country. Tell me what you mean there. That sentence doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure what you mean. Suddenly, all the phenomenal and remarkable childhood memories breached my gloomy, sensitive heart. You need a different verb. Breach doesn't make sense to me. Suddenly, all the phenomenal and remarkable childhood memories lifted. Do you mean like improved? Improved, lifted would be a good verb. My gloomy, sensitive heart. Staring at my unforgettable, antique picture. This means equals. Just remember, means equals. Staring at my unforgettable antique picture equals. When the sun dropped warmth like hot wax. Love that simile. Very good. And the land glowed with light and, right, punctuation in this one. Staring at my unforgettable antique picture when the sun dropped warmth like hot wax. You can use these as, I know what you're doing with these. You're using them as super commas, effectively. The land glowed with light, and the heat so strong it dazzled. I like this description. The ideas are good. It feels like there's too much in this sentence. I would look at this again. I might put staring at my unforgettable antique picture. Yeah, that's good. Keep that. When the sun dropped warmth like hot wax, the land glowed with light. Full stop there. The heat was so strong it dazzled. I'd make that last bit a separate sentence because I think there's too much going on in that one sentence. Smoothly, the sky showed up its artist's trickery. Lovely. Cobalt blue depth, a sapphire halo around the golden sun. Perfect sentence. Love it. Really good ideas. High from the sky, a deep unknown voice was permeating my dark, melancholic memory. Lovely words here. Good vocabulary. All of a sudden, it filled me with strength and joy. It whispered into my depressed heart to go back to the motherland. Smoothly, a tender voice sneaked into my Typhantum said, missing my birthplace more and more day by day. I really like the fact that you've given this a voice and personified this sort of feeling that you've got. I think that's worthy. So this word you've used is sort of eardrum membrane. So I kind of like that you've used some sort of quite specific terminology here. Smoothly, a tender voice sneaked into my Typhanum said, and said, that's why I'm struggling here, and said, missing my birthplace more and more day by day. I miss you, Syria. Would that be, is it sneaking into your ear and said this? I miss you. Usually I advise students to avoid dialogue, but I don't mind this. There's only a little bit, but don't do loads and loads of lines of dialogue because it's really hard to do in writing. Smoothly turned voice mid and said, I think this works actually. It's okay. I had to think about it. Now, this changes. You change your narrative perspective here. Is this still the voice? Because this, hang on, a voice where this is first person, isn't it? As I walked. Why does this feel different? My dear, the green grass is yours. It feels like you are now addressing someone else rather than you are just telling the reader how you feel and describing the scenery. You've changed here. My dear, the green grass of yours is yours? Of yours, the blue sky so magical, the kindness of your people. Are you addressing Syria? I feel like you're addressing Syria. My beautiful language, the one I can express myself the best with. You've been through so much, the tough times of war, the happy times of independence, from the Baltic to the Black. Love that line. You travelled so far. Hope your future will be bright, like the summer sun in your land. Eternally, I will always call you home, wherever I am. Oh, okay. I can see what you've done. You've changed here and you're addressing, I think you're addressing the land yourself. So this is a description of feelings and the surroundings, and then you're addressing that. If that's right, and I've got this right, I feel like you need something else on the end of this to pull it back together. So like a cyclical structure. That's what I always advise students to do. Okay, it's a really good technique. What I mean by that is you start at the beginning with silence dot dot dot. Can you get this back to silence dot 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 at the end, or just silence full stop? Can you make something that moves from this to where you're addressing Syria and how much you've missed him or her, you've personified the country, and move it back to the scene that you're presented with, however you interpret that scene to be, and then join it back to silence. Because I think that cyclical structure would really add something to this. It would give you another dimension and it would pull it all together. Because otherwise, ending it on such a between this, where I'm putting my mouse day by day, to this last paragraph, it feels a bit like a jolt. Um, I feel like you need something at the end to bring it back together, and I want you to end on the word silence. I think that would help you. Okay, so I've looked at this. You want a grade. I can't tell you at 40 what they're going to give it. Necessarily. I can tell you what I think gut feeling grade should be. Just looking at the criteria, I can tell you where you are on the criteria, where I think you are. Bear in mind, they change the grade boundaries all the time. So I could say to you, oh, I think you got, 28. 28 might be, a very different mark in this set of exams to the last set. So the raw grades in themselves aren't helpful. You want a 4 and above to pass this, right? So I've put it somewhere. It's here. This is AQA. Okay, this is the mark scheme, and I want to make sure it's big enough so that you can see really clearly. Okay. These are the marks on this one. Here you go. They put the grades on the AO6. Obviously, you can assume that on the AO5, which is the assessment objective for communication organisation, up here we're 8 to 9, okay, and it goes downwards basically, roughly around half mark. So this is out of 24. Roughly around here is your like 4 boundary, just so I give you some ideas on this, okay? So AO5 is assessment objective 5, communication organisation. It's how well you put the stuff together. Okay, I think you need a bit more, and I think you need to end it on the silence word. All right. And bear in mind, it's all very well getting this right, but it really depends on what your question is tomorrow. But start the ending and the start, if they look similar, you've done that cyclical structure. You started somewhere, you've moved around with ideas, and you've come back to where you started. That's something they like. Communication organisation, 24 marks out of 40. Type, audience, purpose, that's what TAP stands for. So type is happy. Is it prose? That's the type of document, a writing of the description. Is it suitable for the audience, the reader? And the purpose is, are you writing to describe? Okay, and that's the other thing. Be careful. What you've got seems a good balance, but make sure there's lots of, you have put lots of description in yours and your vocabulary is good, but make sure you stay on that. Predominantly, it should be a written description relating in some way to that picture. So just make sure you stay on task for that, because that's what the P in purpose is it descriptive. So let's have a look at these. Writing is consistently clear and effective. Right, I'm not talking about punctuation, spelling, grammar, that's separate, that's down here. Okay, so we're just looking for your ideas. I loved your ideas. I think your vocabulary is very good. Convincing, no, because I tell you why it's not convincing. I think you need to add something to the end. I think you need to have an overall structure, beginning, middle, and end. Even if it's just the opening of something, it's still within it, needs to end somewhere that makes sense. And I feel like it didn't quite do that. Clear. It was clear. See, I think it's, in terms of what you've written, it's at least your punctuation pulls you back, but on ideas, it's probably a 5 on ideas, but it's your phrasing in places made it clunky and confusing. And I think that it's your execution on the technical stuff that might be pulling you down. Now, this is the technical stuff. Assessment objective 6, spelling, punctuation, and grammar. They give 16 marks to this, and you can't ignore them. So you did use a range of punctuation. It wasn't always secure and accurate. See, I think I put you around the half mark, maybe a bit, maybe between these two. So grade 4 to 5, some punctuation used, mostly secure and sometimes accurate. Attempts of variety, you do. Standard English, you do. Accurate spelling, yes, you did. You're easily here. Okay, let's look at the grade above. Range of punctuation, mostly secure, not always. Sentence forms for effect, standard English. So you use some sophisticated vocabulary. Maybe I give you an 8 or a 9 for that section. Let's be harsh. Let's say it's an 8, because they can be harsh, especially around November time. And then where would I say you're definitely consistently clear? You do use, I loved your simile, the hot wax one for the sun. That was brilliant. It was really original as well. I liked it. Connected ideas. See, look, if you sort out your cyclical structure, I think you'll easily get this. Okay. Discourse markers is just a fancy word for connecting words at the beginning of each paragraph. Okay, effective structural, again, do that cyclical thing I told you about, and this will secure this. Yeah, it's probably like 21 overall, which is around half marks. And the reason I'm pulling you down is because of your structure, overall structure, and some of the punctuation, which I know you're aware of before you got this. But that's the difference. That's the thing that I think is making the difference in this, is those two things. So if you can sort out having something near the end here, I think that will help you out. And go through all the corrections I said about your sentences and sort them out, and then repost it and I'll have a look. But I think those are the sort of things you need to work on. Don't put too much in sentences, in terms of, you want to be experimental, but this staring at my unforgettable antique picture when the sun dropped warmth like hot wax, the land glowed with light, full stop, the heat. So the heat was so strong it does. Careful, because there's too much in there. Anyway, I think it's good. I think what you've written in terms of ideas is a worthy 5, but I think to make sure it definitely is a 5, you need to sort out the suggestions that I've made with regards to adding a bit here and checking your sentence structure. I think then it's a 4/5. I really love the vocabulary. I really love the ideas. I think it's creative. I think it's different. Just concentrate on your technical accuracy and you will be fine. Good luck for tomorrow's exam, and well done for working so hard on this. I hope that helps you and anyone else watching this, gives them some ideas. Thanks, guys. Bye.